Hello, cool, smart, and attractive listener. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Geek Press podcast. I'm Noah, and today co host Lewis and I are going to be talking about The Evil Dead, as well as give a minor spoiler free review of it. We're going to talk about the season 3 finale of The Mandalorian and talk about what we thought of the season overall. And we're just going to ramble on a bit about stuff that nobody cares about but us. If you enjoy what you're listening to, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe across the board, across all social media platforms. Help us reach the top of the charts so I can get that sweet, sweet Dollar Shave Club deal because I do not want to buy another razor. See you in a bit.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, theys and thems. My name is Luis Gutierrez, and welcome to episode 48 of the Geek Press podcast. As always, I am joined by my rotating guest of celebrity co-host, and today, you guys know him. He is the one. He is the only Mr. Elijah Woods. How you doing, Mr. Woods?
Hey, what's going on? Hi.
You didn't even try for that one.
I didn't even. Okay, I'm Noah. Each week, I'm forced to do celebrity impressions. You know what? I realized aside from Lord of the Rings, I have no idea what Elijah Wood sounds like.
I was watching a robot chicken skit on TikTok the other day,
Mhm.
and it was
Which
at
is
the
how we all watch TV now. We all
yeah,
watch TV just TikTok.
and it was like one of the final scenes of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So right when they're about to throw the ring into the volcano.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, but go on.
And so what it happens in the movie, what happens
Mhm,
is that Frodo puts on the ring, and then Gollum immediately goes batshit crazy, bites off his finger, and he
mhm,
throws him off. Frodo throws him off himself and launches him into the
mhm,
volcano, and Gollum dies along with the ring.
mhm,
That's how the movie plays out. But in
mhm.
the robot chicken skit, he puts on the ring. As soon as he puts on the ring, Golem jumps on him, but like where his face is to his crotch, and his crotch, like they're basically 69.
Yeah.
And what happens is that Golem's mouth is open, and it's implied that like it's open in like a dick sucking position. And then
Oh my god.
Gollum's like, "Where's the ring?" And Frodo's like, "Keep going. You're almost there. The Shire. You're gonna get the ring." and, and so he's like, "Okay, let me get the ring." And he keeps like giving him head.
Oh my god.
And so what happens is that as soon as like it's implied that Frodo comes, he takes off the ring, and he's like, "Here you go. You've earned
Yeah,
it."
and
And so then once Golem has the ring, he was like, "Well, if you were to put on the ring again, maybe I would have to earn it all over again. What do
oh my
you
god.
think?" And Frodo's like, "Yeah, of course." And he puts it right back on.
Oh my
And then
god.
that's where the skit ends. But then here's the best part of that.
Mhm.
The voice sounded almost exactly like Elijah Woods.
Oh, I think it was Elijah
Yeah,
Wood.
and so when I was looking through the comments, everyone was like, "Bro, I can't believe Elijah Woods came back to voice that." So I'm like, "Oh, dude, he seems like such a fun fucking dude."
Yeah, he's a fun guy.
But yeah.
But, you know what I think is always funny is that people always make, like, those gay jokes,
Mhm.
about, Sam and Frodo, and I feel like they kinda knew that because like, when they're on the mountain and they're like, "Oh, we sacrificed ourselves." Frodo's just like, "Oh, I wish I had gone home," and Sam's just like, "Oh, no homo, Mr. Frodo. There's a no homo, Mr. Frodo. There's a Hobbit girl back home I miss. We saw her for about 30 seconds back in the first movie, and I'm really in love with her. I haven't mentioned her this whole time, but yeah." I like to think Frodo tries to, like, make a move, and he's like, oh, no homo, Mr. Frodo. I can't do it." I just think that's really funny. But, yeah, hi, guys. Welcome to the Geek Press. We
Mm.
talk about things. Lewis, first of all, what have you been listening to? Let's catch up. What have you been reading? What media have you been consuming? What's going on with you?
So we're gonna get into this a little bit later, but now that like Mando's ended, I totally forgot that there's a fuck ton of other television out there that's like
Mhm.
arguably better.
Yeah.
And I've been I'm like 90% done with my guide on the game. I could talk about it now because like it's been
Mhm.
out for like a week. Minecraft Legends. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. It does have its faults though, like but I enjoy it.
Mhm.
But the stuff I've been working on is Minecraft, is the guide for Minecraft, and I started watching Barry again on HBO,
I
and
heard Barry was really good.
it's fucking great. It's only 4 seasons right now. They're in their last season,
Mhm.
and as of recording right now, because today is Sunday, a new episode just dropped. So when this goes out, there'll be like 3 episodes, I believe, out. Because
Mhm.
when they did the season premiere for season 4, I believe they released 2 episodes at once. I could be wrong, but there were already 2 episodes out. So I watched the first one and it was fucking good. And if you guys haven't watched Barry, essentially just giving you a quick rundown of the show, it's Bill Hader. There we go. It's Bill Hader. He plays as a hitman. He's a ex-marine who turned
Mhm.
hitman, and he goes to Hollywood. He ends up killing this guy, and when he kills the guy, he finds out this is all like in the first episode too. It's not really spoiler. He
Mhm.
kills this guy, and he finds out that this guy was going to acting classes, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh man, I want to be an actor." Everything just clicks, and he's like, "Oh, I want to act. I want to do this." But his I don't know what you call him, but like the guy who gives him the jobs, the guy who gives him hits is like, "No,
Mhm.
Barry, you're a hitman. We've been doing this forever. Go back into the hitman business." And he was like, "No, fuck you. I want to be an actor. I want to change my life."
Mhm.
And then it's just this downward spiral of like the dual life syndrome. It's like, okay, I'm trying to better myself, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I'm literally killing people. And I don't want to give too much away, but
Yeah.
that's the premise, and it's a dark comedy. So like the show gets really funny, but then there's parts of the show throughout Barry, you're like, fuck, you're like, holy shit. And
You're just
it's
like gobsmacked.
yeah, and I'm honestly such a fan of shows like that where it's where it's funny as fuck, but then when it gets serious, you feel the weight, you know? Because
Mhm.
you usually don't see the characters like this. And when you see them like dark and gritty, you're like, "Oh fuck." So, go watch Barry. It's going on right now. That's your early homework assignment. And I've also been watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV.
Mhm.
So that I think the season's good. I like it a lot, but I think if you had to like compare it to the other seasons, it's probably just a smidge bit weaker than season 2 and 3. And if you guys don't know what Ted Lasso about, I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of that too. It's about this American uh football coach, like American football. He's an American football coach, and the UK hires him. A UK soccer team hires him, and he starts coaching soccer over there, and he's like learning the sport, and it's like culture shocks, like American culture versus English culture, and it's like a super warm-hearted, like good, like makes you feel good. That's the premise of the show. But I'm watching that right now too. But yeah, that's been like my week for the most part. I've also been going to the gym like super early in the morning. I don't know if I talked about it on the last podcast, but it's like a great way to start your day. Like if you can do it, it feels good because like I'm just awake. Like I'm a little tired after my workout, granted, but other than that, like I don't feel like I've wasted anything. But
Yeah, I know what you mean.
what about you, Noah? What's catch me up on your life?
Oh my gosh, if we're doing early homework, I'm gonna say it at the end of the podcast too. Titans number 1 comes out this May 16th. Go pick it up. That's I'm just gonna mention that really quickly. Please go pick up Titans early homework. Uh, aside from me, I've been all right. I have maybe like 2 or 3 weeks left of school left, which
Congrats,
is pretty
congrats.
crazy. Thank you, thank you. So I'm just doing that. And yesterday I live in LA the LA County area, and there was why am I hiding my where I live? I live in Whittier. I live in I was like, I'm trying to hide myself. No, I live in Whittier, and there was a 5K the other day, and I did it in the morning.
Yeah,
And
how'd
let
that
me tell you,
go?
I am very fucking tired just because the uptown area where it happened is very hilly.
hmm It was hot
So,
too.
mhm, and luckily the race started at like 8.
Okay.
So yeah, I got there before it got too warm. So my quads got so freaking blasted, and it was fun. I because they only have a certain amount of medals, so I managed to make it before they ran out. So I was really
Ooh,
happy about that.
nice.
I was really happy about that. But then when I got home, my mom's husband was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the dump. Let's take a bunch of stuff." So then I spent like the next hour or 2 hours taking a bunch of shit from the backyard, putting it into his truck, to take the dump. And then my sister and her kid came over and their family. So then I was playing with her kid. And then like right in the middle of playing with her kid in the water, I'm the only one in the water with her. I get shin splints and I gotta like sit down, and it was like so bad. I had like the worst shin splints of my life. And it took me like a good 30 minutes to finally like be able to walk because they were so bad. And then today, this morning, I woke up and my body's okay. It's just that my quads are so sore. Like I'm so tired. So that was that. And I saw Evil Dead Rise,
Hmm.
which is I am not a horror movie person at all. I'm terrible with horror, but this was a really good horror movie. That's all. That's what I can say about it.
Okay,
Definitely.
I'm excited to watch that one. I keep forgetting it came out.
Mhm. It's actually my first ever it's actually my first not horror. It's my first ever Evil Dead movie.
That's interesting because
Mhm.
I have a little bit of a right to pick with the Evil Dead franchise, even though I
Oh
fucking
my
love it. Like I
gosh.
grew up on it. It's
Mhm.
not that big of a ripe I have, but
Mhm.
the Evil Dead is always referred to as a horror
Mhm.
franchise. And if you watch the original Evil Dead, it's like scary movie. You know, those are the vibes
But
I get.
well, the thing is, it's like contemporaneous to its time.
Oh
Like
no,
when it
not at
came
all.
out,
Because okay,
when
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, so when they made Evil Dead 1,
mhm,
they had such a low budget, and they genuinely tried to make a horror movie, but it was so bad it was funny,
mhm,
and that gained them enough money to go back and like do an Evil Dead 2. So they said fuck it. They made Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi made it with the original cast.
mhm.
But here's the thing, Evil Dead 2 is a remake of Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
And they just lean into the comedy aspects at that point.
Mhm,
And then for that one, and then they make Evil Dead. It's like Ash versus the Army of Darkness or something like that,
mhm,
which is even more comedy. Like there's a little bit of horror elements, but it's like mostly a comedy movie. And then after that, they have the TV show, which I think that one's Ash versus the Army of Darkness,
mhm,
which is it does have a little bit of horror elements, but 90% of it is like comedy. I always picture that as like a comedy, but if you look
mhm,
at the Evil Dead movie that came out before this one, I think I forgot who, like Emma Stone was in it, I think, or
mhm,
that one's a horror movie. That one, like I feel like the newer movies are horror ones, but the ones with Bruce Campbell are just kind of
mhm.
comedy, which I'm not complaining because I fucking love them. Like I always just, but it's just like I feel a little weird calling those ones like horror movies, you know?
I think they're more like horror comedies when you look at them, especially the second one where they have a bigger budget and it's more like, okay, we see how later audiences have looked at it. Let's change it up. But at the time, it was like, oh, this is a gore, horror, low budget type of movie. So I
Mm,
think it was taken a bit more seriously, even though through our like modern day lens, it's more like, oh, this is funny.
mm-hmm.
So I think just because I say that just because I'm looking at because I like to do a little bit of research. I'm looking at some reviews for that time, and it's like early response and then later response, and there's like a clear difference in how people kind of evaluated the
Mm,
film.
okay.
The early response is like, "Oh, this is low budget gore and shock, like low budget horror," and they're like into that. And then later responses are like, "Oh, this is camp as hell. We love it."
Okay, 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 okay.
But I would say that Evil Dead Rise is an insane horror film
Mm-hmm.
that will fuck you up.
I'm
And let me
excited.
tell you, I I can say right now I am not a horror film person, but I can handle most horror. But you know what really got to me about this film? There's a lot of gore. There's so much gore that's like if you don't like body horror and if you're not the type that's into blood, then you might want to take a step back from this one because I'll watch something like Insidious and I'll be like, yeah, they try to be scary, but at the end of the day, it's like people in masks and like dream realms and stuff and like psychics and like that can be scary, but there's like a cognitive dissonance between seeing something supernatural and seeing something that like body horror that could happen in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of gore and body horror in Evil Dead Rise. I had to leave the theater for like a hot 10 minutes because I was like shaking.
Oh
I don't care
damn.
if I don't care if it makes me sound like a pussy. I'll fucking say it. I had to take a minute. I was on like the edge of crying. I didn't leave. I had to take a second because it just really fucking got to me. And I realize there are people that's gonna watch it and they'll be like, "It's not that scary." Well, you know what? Fuck you. It scared me. I had to take fucking 10 minutes outside the theater. Because there's just a moment near like the third act that's just so like the actors here are so fucking good. They deliver so well.
Mhm.
And like the makeup and practical effects they do on people's faces, like it's so good. It's so good. I kind of hated it, which means it's great. And it's just it's a really good film. I think
How
it's really good.
how many Books of the Dead do you give this movie?
3 out of 3 because
Three
there's
out.
only 3.
Okay.
There's only 3.
That's a very misleading rating scale because one
Mhm.
obviously means it's bad, but two, it's like, is it
Yeah.
bad or is it good? Like that's the subjective
Yeah,
one.
it's not enough. It's not enough fun. You're the one who came up with the system, so
I was
I don't know
originally
what.
gonna say chainsaws, but I was like, nah,
Mhm.
books. I think books would go better.
Okay, well, currently there are 5 movies. So how many movies do I rate it out of 5? And I
And
think I
each
give
of
it a
them
5.
has had a chainsaw. So yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, how many chainsaws do you rate this movie?
There is a chainsaw in this movie too.
Yeah, I seen it in a trailer.
It's also weirdly an iconic moment. I'm just like, "Oh, go off, Ripley." Like, she has a chainsaw and she's gonna, like, get she has, like, her own moment, like, "Get away from her, you bitch." Like,
Hmm.
it's that kinda moment, and I really liked it. It felt very gratifying.
I
But, I give it 5 chainsaws out of 5.
Okay, that's a better rating scale.
Yeah, that's much better.
I
And I
will.
s mhm.
I'll go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
No, I'll go for it, please.
I will say this that the trailers they showed a little too much in my opinion
Mhm,
because I'm like, oh, I know exactly who dies now, and I know
mhm,
exactly who like the final survivors are,
mhm,
and I was just like, why'd you have to do all that? Like there was literally a scene in the trailer where it shows
mhm.
like the son getting strangled.
Uh-huh.
And then in the next scene in the trailer, you see him like all like you see him like as demonified, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, well there now I know this. That was my only
Yeah,
complaint that the trailer showed off a little too much, but I'm still excited to see the movie nonetheless.
I haven't seen any of the trailers, honestly. I think like you, I know The Evil Dead through sort of a modern lens of like, oh, like they have chainsaw for arms, and it's like a goofy comedy, like schlocky horror. So when enemy of the podcast slash father Diego and friend of the podcast Jake, when they were just like, want to go see it, I was like, okay, I'm down for like a schlocky fun time. But
Hmm.
like I did not have a good time. Like I was like, and Jake had to be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, thank you. I'm okay."
That's sweet.
Like, it's very sweet. But yeah, if you're a fan of horror, I would highly recommend Evil Dead Rise.
Hmm.
100%. It feels like I'm gonna steal these words from Jake. He says it feels like a modern reinvigoration of the concept,
God, we
and
get it. You guys own fucking thesauruses, okay?
that's what he said. I'm just quoting him.
Hold on. Side note. Side note. Side note. I
Mhm,
remember I was getting a little bit of like an artsy vocabulary as I was writing some of my articles, right?
mhm,
And my editors didn't. I'm not gonna say which websites are which. I'm just
mhm,
But one of my editors were like, they didn't give me shit. They were like, okay, go ahead, write it like that. Switched over
mhm.
to the other website, and they messaged me. They're saying, hey, usually when people talk, they don't say this or they don't say that. Tone it down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably learned this in school too. Your articles have to be concise and conversational.
Yeah, I'm never gonna forget that. I was like, oh man, I'm getting a little fucking
Is
pretentious
that why
up in
you bring
here.
it up to me now? Because 'Cause I'll say something and you'll be like, "Stop being fucking." Oh,
Uh,
we get it. You own a dictionary.
Honestly, that happened to me a little ways back. I just forgot to
Mm.
bring it up.
I respect
I
it.
just completely forgot to bring it up until now.
Yeah, but I wanna say that in my defense, it's always the same words. I don't bring in, like, new words. I use, like, the same words.
I think you just jinxed yourself.
Yeah, like, I think I said this in our last D&D session. I use the word akin a lot,
Uh huh.
which is basically just, like, something that's similar to something else.
Uh huh.
And I kinda realized I use it so much, so I'm gonna try to, like, police my language a bit more, just to vary it up a little bit. But yeah, that was Evil Dead. So fucking good. The actors are really good. I would never watch another one.
Mhm.
It's because that was too scary for me. But, definitely if you're a fan of horror and the series, go see it.
Mm.
Also, it's like an hour 30 minutes.
Oh, it's a pretty compact movie then.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that.
Okay.
Like, it really draws you into the story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's written very well. The pacing's it's very smooth and fast, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not, like, too quick. It's like, "Okay, we're going along for this journey." And it's really good. It's really good. I highly recommend
Let,
it, even
let,
though I hate it.
let me ask you this. This is the only thing I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask about the film.
Mm.
Does it obviously they're all within, like, it's all one conjoined universe. How do they explain that? Like, oh, this is one of three books and
Yeah, there is a line that specifically references, because I don't think this is a spoiler,
no, I don't wanna
but,
know. I wanna know. I wanna know.
okay. Well, okay, then I won't say anything, but it's suggested.
Okay. Because
But
there's
you don't have to know anything about any of the other
okay.
movies to watch this.
Because this is where my biggest thing from the Evil Dead kind of
Mm,
gets a little murky for me is
mhm,
because they in the Evil Dead franchise they for those who are unaware, there are three books of the dead, and those books essentially, they bring demons up to the earth and bad, very bad. And
mhm.
throughout the course of the Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi films, the three get spread across the world, and you only really see one throughout most of them, or two, I forget. Anyways,
I believe you see 2 of them.
yeah. And so in the show, the show that got canceled, it's a really good show by the way, if you guys are a fan of that Evil Dead. The way they ended the show was so weird because I'm like, is the show canon now? Like, do
You know
you?
what? Who knows?
Yeah, because what happens at the end of the because they were supposed to get renewed. Well, no, I take that back. They didn't anticipate getting canceled, so that's why they ended the show the way they ended it.
Mhm,
But what happens is that Bruce ends up fighting like the embodiment of evil. Like that's it,
mhm,
like the pinnacle of, the devil essentially, if you will. And he fights him in modern times. He ends up losing the battle. He wakes up a million years in the future. Well, not a million years, but like he wakes up in like a distant, like Mad Max like future, and they're telling him like, yeah, you've become sort of like a martyr. Like people like fucking worship you at this point because you stood up to the darkness, and you still give people hope. And he's like, okay, well, let's go bring hope back to the world. And he drives
mhm.
off in like the desert. So I'm like, okay, so is that how does that fit into the overall narrative, or you guys just
Shut
kind
up,
of
nerd.
yeah, exactly. I know exactly how I sound. I know
I
exactly
stole
how I
your noise. I stole your words. I just had to say it because you said it to me so many times.
sound.
So shut up, nerd. Just
Yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna enjoy it regardless.
No, but that's a good question because it's like if you care about something, you want to know if it connects to something else. So
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with asking those questions.
If I ever had a chance to talk to Sam Raimi, that's probably one of
Mhm.
the things I'd ask him. And also, why does Spider-Man 3 suck so bad? But
I'd
everyone,
fight him. Well, I would say Spider-Man 3 had a lot of studio interference because I know he had different villains in mind, and the studio was really like, "Oh, we really want to do Venom." There's like a whole story behind that one.
really,
Yeah, I think he wanted to do what's the name? What's the name of the guy who flies?
Falcon, not Falcon,
Oh,
Vulture.
Vulture. He wanted to do Vulture and Sandman.
We got one of
But
them.
yeah, he got one of them. So I think he had a different plan, but that's besides the point. But speaking of things that had different
Yeah.
I lost.
Okay. So there's something I wanted to talk about.
Please transition to
Yeah.
something
There's
else. I
some
tried to, but I failed. I failed.
something I want to talk about. Supporter of
All
the
right.
show, Kevin.
Okay,
Kevin
that's also
Prime.
the name of our fans.
Yeah, Kevin Prime. Kevin Prime said something to me as right before we started playing D&D. So it was right before we went live. You guys don't watch our D&D streams, go watch them on twitch.tv/I'm Joshua Justar. But Kevin was grilling you and I about like talking about spoilers. And there
Uh-huh.
was the no, okay, I lied. This was the time when we played at the bar, so you can't go back and listen
Okay.
to this episode.
Oh yeah, you can't.
So what had happened? Wait, no, I no no no. I'm getting my shit
Oh my
mixed up.
god.
I'm getting my
Oh
shit
my
mixed.
god.
This was last
Oh
week.
my
This
god.
was last week. You
You're such
said
a
this.
fucking phony.
This was last week. You said this. So,
Okay.
um, what had happened was you had we had just finished fighting this boss or whatever,
Mhm.
and there was a tree. There was a tree next to the
Yeah.
blast, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna light it on fire." And I lit it on fire,
Uh,
and Noah's like, "Oh, the tree's on fire." He's describing it, painting a picture for us. And I'm like, "Oh,
mhm.
just like the ending of Elden Ring." And
Uh,
Kevin is like, "Spoilers." And I look at I can't look at Kevin, but I'm like, "Kevin, are you ever gonna play Elden Ring?" And he was like, "No." And I'm like, "Kevin, that game came out like a year ago." He was like,
mhm,
"Yeah, but still, what if like I wanted to play it?" I'm like, "Kevin, if you didn't play Elden Ring last year, you're not gonna play it this year. You're not gonna play it next year, you
mhm,
know?" And then he said something along the lines of this, where he was like, "Man, I just feel like today people just don't care about spoilers and they just like spoil
mhm.
anything." And Kevin, I know you're gonna listen to this, and I love you so much, but
I love you more than him.
but I feel like the spoiler window was only valid for maybe like the first month, and that's kind of pushing it.
Mhm,
Um, yeah, I that's why I feel like that's why I feel like it's valid. And if the thing has been up for at least a year, that's kind of on you.
mhm.
So
I
and
I think that's interesting because spoilers are such I feel like a spoiler-free window is slowly becoming antiquated just because people see things so fast and
mhm.
information spreads so
But
fast,
then
and
here
it's hard to
here's
stay
and here's my
spoiler-free.
thing too though. I am on board with Kevin where
Mhm,
Kevin Prime where it's like I don't like spoilers. I don't like anything spoiled to me. So if
mhm,
I'm gonna go watch Evil Dead, if I'm gonna go watch Mandalorian or like if I'm gonna go play Elden Ring, I'm
mhm.
not gonna I'm gonna do everything in my power to not get anything spoiled for me. So
Exactly.
if I'm on TikTok and they're like, "Oh, look at this Mandalorian, he popped up," and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Next." Or if I'm on
Yeah.
Twitter and I know sometimes you will do some. I'm just gonna use you as an example,
Mhm.
like because we'll be like, "Man, that episode when this," and I'm like, "All right, next." I'm not even gonna read it. So it just you gotta be on your A game a little bit, you know.
You know what? I will say that I've been trying to be better about that because 'cause I've literally texted you. I was like, "Avoid my TikToks because I'm making stuff about spoilers." Like and let me tell you, it's really good when you have, like, a photo on Twitter and you set it to sensitive, so you have to, like, click on it to see what spoilers they're talking about. I've been doing that more.
hmm
That's been a lot of fun, but I get what you mean because it's like, I can't watch things at the same rate as you, and it just really sucks, especially if you're really excited about something to get spoiled. Like, I've had plenty of comic spoilers for myself where, like, I really wanna see read, and then I'll go on and somebody's like, "I can't believe this character died." I'm just like, "You son of a bitch. How dare you I wanted to read that." And it's just I get it. But it's like, who what's the window for things? Like
I honestly think
Mhm,
the window is like a month,
mhm,
and that's I say 3 weeks. I usually say 3 weeks, 3 to 2 weeks. But I've had people tell me 1 month.
mhm,
Because 1 month, if you're now this is like if everyone's financial situation is different. I totally get it.
uh-huh,
But it's like, oh man, I really want to go see the new Star Wars movie, but fuck, I can't watch it like the first couple weeks 'cause I got bills to pay. But next paycheck, I'll be able to go watch it,
yeah,
something like that, you know.
mhm,
So that's why I always say about a month. And with like anime too, I'm more or less the same. I'm like, all right,
mhm,
I'll give you a month. I'll give you a month to catch up. But if it's like a show where yeah, see, because I have like certain friend groups where like they're just watching like Attack on Titan,
mhm,
and two of the four friends in that group we've watched it, and the other guy's like, "No, don't tell me anything." I'm like, "Bro, the show's been out since like I was in fucking high school. How have you not?
mhm,
Like I can't like don't get mad at me because fucking I'm just gonna say something like Aaron Yeager becomes borderline Hitler.
mhm.
So
My sister's this thing I hate where she can't wait, so she'll just look up what
my
happens.
girlfriend does that, and I
I
don't
fucking
know how
hate
she
it.
could do
I
that.
hate it. I'm just like, "Oh, did you oh, yeah, I saw the movie, but it's so good." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, the day it came out, I looked up spoilers because I didn't wanna wait." And I'm just like, "Why? Are you
Mhm.
depriving yourself of that?" Like, how do you that's so sad. Just I know, just let yourself wait. Why can't you just it's like she needs to know. I'm just like, I get you're excited and you wanna know, but, like, can you not just save those for yourself? And just like, "No, I just wanna know what happens."
And
And I'm like, "Alright, alright."
speaking about needing to know stuff, I forgot to mention this. I took a DNA test.
Mhm.
And I
I'm all
got
about it.
and I got my results back. I
Oh
shared
my
it.
god.
so Noah knows this because I shared it in a group chat with him. But
Mhm.
I got some pretty interesting results. I've been joking about it with my girlfriend. She's like, "You're like as American as I come." So I'm gonna read you guys my results right now. Okay.
Okay.
I am 44% indigenous America's
Hot.
Mexico. And with New Mexico and Southern Colorado, with Northern
Mhm.
New Mexico and Northeastern Mexico, South Texas, and Southeastern uh, Coahuila. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And Southwestern. It's a Spanish name, and I'm gonna butcher it. Yeah, but I have a 44% indigenous blood in me for Americas and Mexico, and I find that really really cool.
That is
Um,
cool.
I have 39% Spanish in me, so I have that conqueror blood that all Europeans have.
I would like a little Spanish in me, if you know what I'm saying. Mhm.
I am 4% Basque, which is like
Mhm.
in France. It says it's primarily located in Spain, but also found in France. I have I am 3% Jewish.
Mhm.
I am 2% Segal, which is like the northern Africa esque area.
Mhm.
I was surprised. I have like a lot of African in me. Not a
Mhm.
lot, but like a considerable amount. I have indigenous North America in me, and then there's like a lot of like other parts of Africa. So it's like I have a good chunk of African in me, and then I have 1% Ireland in me.
Oh, wow. I'd like to think that one day you'll go to Ireland and you set foot and suddenly you're just like, "Ah, everything feels right." You just start rolling around in the grass and you're like, "Everything feels great. Someone get me a Guinness." And then you just start drinking really heavily and you just become an Irish person. But I think it'd be really funny if you pulled like an Elizabeth Warren and just changed your registration status on your voting to, Native American
God.
like she did. That
You
was just so
you know
funny.
what one of my first thoughts was when I saw that I have, like, indigenous blood in me, like, a good chunk of it?
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Fuck, man, I could have applied for so many scholarships."
I don't know if you is that enough to apply for scholarships?
I don't know if it's enough, but it's enough to put me in the runs, at least I feel like.
I'm interested in now you said this was like ancestry.com or what was
Yeah, it was
this? I'm a
Ancestry.com.
little I'm a little interested in trying it
Mm,
because apparently my grandfather's mother
okay.
was from was a full-blooded Tigwa tribe from Texas.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be interesting if I did this test and it comes back and it's just none of that's there and I'm just like you were all liars. You just wanted to feel better about yourself by saying you're natives, didn't you? And I just think that'd be very funny.
What I thought was funny was my grandma told me
Mhm,
that, like, she ate, and
mhm.
and that test just, like, 100% proved her wrong.
You know what? That's I feel like that just might is she white or is she,
Looking, now that I'm thinking about it
mhm.
out loud, she's just a super light skinned Mexican.
You know what? There definitely has she lived here for a long time?
Yeah,
Like, did she come over?
she lived in
Mm.
Texas and
Oh, okay, well
then migrated here
mhm.
to California.
Well, there's definitely a thing where, people that have migrated over here can often be like, "Oh, to better assimilate and better f sit fix in, you kind of reject and denounce that sort of Hispanic, Latin American roots and kinda just be like, "Oh, we're American, we're
Yeah,
white, we're light skinned, we can pass." That's definitely an attitude she might have had. Like, maybe
maybe,
she from, South America or something, and she's like, "Nope, we're not doing any of that shit, we're gonna fit in with America." So,
maybe.
yeah, it could've been that, but you never know.
But okay, so
Mhm.
there's other things we're gonna completely change topics. I just want to squeeze
Oh,
that in.
I have a
Oh,
transition, I
go
have a
for it, go
okay.
for it.
Speaking of a native people that are just trying to get their land back.
Oh no, 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 no. Okay.
Okay, sorry, you go ahead then.
Let's
I was
talk
trying to
about the
transition.
Mandalorian.
It's the Mandalorians. Oh my gosh, Mando, I have so many mixed feelings about
That
that
season
finale.
was mid.
It did feel a little mid.
Okay.
But
This
I wanna
is
say one thing that I feel like really that I enjoy. I'll say one thing that I enjoyed the most about it, and then I'll let you go, okay?
we're gonna go spoiler territory right here.
It's spoiler territory, Kevin, so get the fuck out if you haven't listened to this episode.
Okay, go for it.
So, okay, I like how this season really solidified Mando, Din Djarin as just at the end of the day, Star Wars has always been about legacies. It's been about the chosen ones. It's been about people that are special. The Mandalorian with Din Djarin has just been a guy trying to find peace
Mhm. Yeah.
because this season, the end of the season almost felt like the end of the show
Yeah, no, that's what I
where
was thinking too.
I was wondering if they did that in case he didn't get renewed, but, they obviously are getting renewed because even if you don't like it, it's still one of their biggest shows. He goes and he sits on the porch, and he's just, like, sitting on this plot of land, and I kinda realized that's all he's ever wanted, is just peace and quiet, someone he cares about just sitting and, like, even though he's devoted to, like, this cult, he has duties, he's an honorable man. I think what he really wanted was just to fucking find peace. And just seeing him sit on, like, a rocking chair or something while, baby Grogu's playing with a fucking frog was like, this is his end for him. Like, if the show ended here, I don't know if I'd be excited, but I'd understand, like, okay, that's a good ending for him. I
Mhm.
think it'd be interesting because, like, gro like future, we have Ray come over and she's like, "Oh, I've read about you. You're like Master Yoda. Like, oh, come to the Jedi Order." And Grogu's just like, "I'm good. Like me and my dad just like my dad's dead. Like he's an old man, but like I'm living on a fucking farm. I'm happy. Like I don't want any of that Jedi shit. I'm just living here." So I think that'd be an interesting thing if they just kind of just settle and relax. Like I know they're planning a season 4. I know he's probably gonna go back to maybe, like, season 1 vibes where they're, like, just doing jobs and they're just kinda running around. I think that'd be interesting
Mhm.
after the weird development and then backtrack on development they've done throughout the seasons. But I like that at the end of the day, he's just a normal guy.
Yeah. I
But you go ahead. I ranted a bit. Go ahead.
Well, I have to agree with you on that. It did feel like this is where they wanted to initially end the show.
Mhm,
Where, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what more can you do at this point? You know, you defeated Moff Gideon, the Empire is still kind of lurking around. Yeah, you could do something with that, but
mhm,
yeah, there's nothing else to do. You know, and
mhm,
I do like that idea too. It's just like, yeah, he wants a quiet life. That's all he wants. He wants to take care of his son. One thing I did find weird was I got a little insulted for the Mando was at the
mhm.
end when the armor also too the armor wasn't a spy. I was completely wrong on that.
Yeah, I think it's funny 'cause, there was a lot of talk online of, "Who's a spy? Who's that?" And there was just no spy. But also don't Mr. Filoni, I'm gonna burn your cowboy hat. Don't fucking name the episode. You and Favreau, don't name the fucking episode The Spy if there is no fucking spy.
The only spy I could think of it was plural, wasn't it? Like there was more than one spy?
I guess it was what's her face in on Coruscant.
Uh-huh.
I
But
guess
she
it's a
was there
reference
for
to her.
like a second.
And this episode started with her, but I guess she told Moff Gideon the Mandos were there, so I guess so. Because Moff Gideon would not know until they came to the planet that they were coming,
Mhm.
which is, I guess so. Fine, fine. But, what are some of your thoughts on the Mando? What did you like? You know what? Let's all talk about what we liked, and then we'll go into dislike.
What I liked about it was fuck,
Mhm.
wasn't that much I liked about this season, if I'm being honest.
I have some tweets here
Okay.
that, I can read that I think are interesting.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna present them to you.
go for it.
Uh, I thought it was funny. It said, "Here's something I did like, the destruction of the Darksaber."
Yeah.
I thought it was kinda lame how it was destroyed, but I found this tweet that I thought was interesting. That it says it's from Star Wars Akkad. So shout out to Star Wars Akkad on Twitter. This is the
Unless they
dark
say something
saber.
racist, then we
Unless
denounce them.
yeah, then we did it. It says it says the dark saber was a symbol of leadership in the eyes of the Mandalorians. Now that it's destroyed, so ends the obsessive nature that was always associated with his existence. It's time for Mandalore to be ruled with honor rather than an inanimate symbol of power. Which I think is interesting because Din Djarin literally tells that to Bo-Katan. He's like, my people don't give a fuck about the sword. It's you guys that have been obsessed with that. We follow people who are honorable. And I think that's an interesting concept to bring in because that fucking sword, as cool as it is, it's been passed around, it's been thrown around, it's had way too much fucking weight on the world. Like in the Clone Wars, spoiler for Clone Wars, part of the reason Maul's able to take control of the planet is because he wins the saber in like a fight. You should not be able to take over an entire planet by winning a fight in some ceremonial duel. So honestly,
You
fuck
know,
that
hold
tradition.
on, hold on, hold on. We're not too far off from something right here.
There's like there's a
What?
billion people. It should not be determined by one sword
But
fight.
imagine that if that's how we chose our like presidents. Like you
I
just
don't know if
throw it
I'm ready
down
for
in
that.
the ring, and whoever wins gets the fucking they get the championship belt, and anyone at any given moment could call you out.
You understand that means someone like The Rock could be president.
Yeah, but then it also means too we could have
You
like
want The Rock as president,
no, but
Lewis? Is that what you're
we could have had like Macho Man Randy Savage as the president. That's I'd want to live in that world.
isn't he like a horrible racist or
No,
who
you're
is
thinking
that?
of Hulk Hogan. Macho Man is
Oh yeah.
dead.
Okay, I'm thinking of Hulk Hogan, you're
Yeah,
right.
you think of yeah, but like or fuck who else?
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't think of anyone else at the moment, but that would have been cool. That
But
would have been
yeah,
cool.
I liked that tweet because even though I was annoyed that the saber got destroyed,
Hmm.
but I was just like, okay, it's getting rid of the remnants of Mandalore's past and focusing on its future. Because honestly, these people need to get it the fuck together.
Yeah.
They need to get it together. I thought it was really cool just to keep on the positive. That little plant area that they were like, oh look, we can grow. Like, oh my
Oh
gosh, we can
yeah,
grow.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I thought like, okay, I feel like Mandalore is not really mentioned in any other media, I think, going forward. So we don't really
No.
know its fate. So I'm just like, hopefully it's positive.
Well,
Hopefully they push it together.
the only thing I have
Mhm,
like on Mandalore's future, I think they're gonna be okay. I think those
mhm.
crazy kids are just gonna be all right because
They're
bec-
gonna be okay.
because in the new trilogy, there's
Mhm,
when they go to like their version of the cantina.
mhm.
What's that one girl's name with the glasses? You know, the alien girl. You know what I'm talking about?
It's like Roz, right?
Something like that.
Mhm.
And I
Something like that.
as the camera's zooming in like on her bar, you see a bunch of flags, like
Mhm,
just a lot of prevalent flags, and you see the Mandalorian flag right there and like in the corner.
mhm.
That's it. That's as much information as you have to go off of the Mandos. So I think
I mhm.
they're around. To what capacity, I don't know.
I think people pointed out too that apparently some of their ships that we saw in this season also appear in the final movie where all the ships show up
Ah, okay,
and they
okay,
come to fight. Apparently, those are also there. So I'm like, oh, okay,
okay.
why not? But if you try to think of what else positive before we go all
Yeah.
negative because I think we both have things to say.
I did enjoy the fight scenes between like
Yeah, those were fun.
the Empire Mandos, essentially, whatever you want to call them. You know,
Mhm.
I did enjoy those fight scenes a lot. I thought it was really cool, like the one where Mando is talking to his R unit, and he's like, get the raise the shield."
Oh, those that little like people were joking that oh Mando finally gets his own hallway scene.
Oh shit, I
I
didn't
don't know.
think of it that way.
Yeah, that was a cool sequence. I thought that was
Yeah,
really
that was
cool.
really cool, and I was just a fan of seeing Mando get choked out with the fucking with like the
Yeah,
rope gun because he was
yeah.
always getting choked out. So I was like, "Oh shit, like this is how it looks like when it happens to our hero." Like
I
that's
was
fuck
really into that
I was like
too,
that's fucked up.
but for different reasons.
And I did like seeing Grogu's um I like seeing him in a suit. It was kind of cute, but the whole time I was thinking too, I was like he would have been a lot safer in his little pod.
Yeah, you should have honestly, you shouldn't have brought him. He was there just for that, like, force moment at the end.
That was cool too. That was
That
really
was cool.
cool. I did like seeing that. I did like Bo-Katan a lot in this show because
Mhm,
I originally thought she was gonna be the villain of the show
mhm.
because in the trailers that's how they kind of like made it seem
Yeah,
like a little
like,
bit.
she's
And
sitting on a throne, like, "Ugh,
mhm,
I can't believe you're doing this." Like, she seemed a little antagonistic in the
mhm.
trailers.
And then based off like the last time we saw her, she was like very like jealous and very like envious.
Mm,
So I was like, oh man, she's gonna be the villain. So I thought that was cool. I really got to like Bo-Katan and what
and he
I
mhm,
liked how Moff Gideon was like doing his clone shit and how they're trying to like justify
mhm.
Palpatine coming back as a clone. But
I
that
I think it's very fun because we don't really know a lot about Moff Gideon,
mhm,
but I like that this kinda showed his vanity.
mhm,
Because you could clone anyone in the galaxy, and you wanna clone yourself, like, you're that into yourself, you think you're that good. You're like, "I'm gonna clone myself and give myself the Force, so fuck
uh-huh,
you," like, that I thought that was a good, like, character thing because he's very vain. Because 'cause we've seen that in, like, Imperial officers before, that they're the grandiose and vanity of the officers are like, "I'm a superior officer in the Galactic Empire, and you will listen to me." Like, that's sort of like a trend that happens with these guys, so I thought it was interesting to give a little bit of his personality through that.
mhm. And honestly too, whatever Juan Carlo Esposito, like, stars in, he fucking kills it.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, I fell in love with him in Breaking Bad. He's really good in he obviously Mandalorian. He's really good in The Boys. Like whatever he's in, he fucking knocks it out of the park. So I was really happy to see him there. Another thing I really did like was just seeing fuck, what was it? The well, hold on, no, there's something else I'm gonna say. But it was seeing the two Mandos, like the cultures like collide. That was really
Yeah,
cool.
I remember, when they were fighting, I was a little annoyed at Bo, and I was like, "Bo, why can't you fucking kill this guy?" But then, when Din stepped in and he started helping, I was like, "Oh, okay, I understand the symbolism of, like, the modern Mandos and the old traditional Mandos. They have to come together and unify in order to defeat their threats." And that was sort of like them working together and fighting together. I was like, "Okay, I see that."
Yeah, that was really cool. I did like seeing them do that, and then that scene where all the Mandos are like flying in, and
Mhm,
they're gonna go like help Din. That was a really cool
mhm.
scene too.
I thought it was really funny when, that one guy who crashed the ship, Wolf or whatever, he just dipped, and I was like, he really he really said, "Fuck going down with the ship." He's like, "I crashed it, okay, bye." Like,
I don't blame him. I would have done the
uh
same exact thing. I'm like, fuck this, I'm out.
you're like, "Alright," I said, "I'm going, jump." Like, that was very funny.
He wasn't the captain of that ship. He didn't have any
No,
responsibility to it. If anything, fucking Bo-Katan should have gone down with that ship.
but she really said, "Fuck that," too.
Uh
She was
huh.
like, "Honestly, fuck all this thing." I thought that was very funny.
Okay, but what are stuff you didn't like about or any other things you liked about this season?
Um, I like that it kind of returned. I feel like we're returning to first season vibes.
Mhm,
Because as much as I think we've talked about this before, as much as I enjoy Mando participating in the greater galaxy, I really do miss, like, the one-off bounty hunters, solo stories, like, going to weird planets, fighting weird monsters, like, I do miss that. So, I'm glad that we're hopefully returning to that, because I'm down for a cameo or 2 or here going different places, but I do return the return to form of just Din and his kid doing missions is something I'm pretty excited about.
mhm.
Because I feel like all this stuff could have been its own show. All the meta stuff could have been its own thing. And I enjoy it, but I'm also like, all right, let's return back to fucking Din and his son. So I thought this was interesting. Here's another tweet by who I'm gonna say this tweet, but if this guy's horrible, then we disavow him. Uh by Joe underscore Brennan underscore. It says the Mandalorians gained Navarro as a home and then immediately decided to go retake their planet. Grogu got some autonomy in IG-12 and then immediately went back to being a baby when they gave the robot back to the people. Why must this show sidestep all of its own solutions?
I
I think
noticed
that's it.
that. Yeah, I noticed that specifically with the planet. I'm like, they got their own, like they got a new thing. Why are they going back to their old home world now? You know?
I think it would have been interesting if they had like thrown in one line where they're just like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have some people based on Navarro, but the majority of us are going to Mandalore, so that way we'll have a foothold on 2 planets." Like, they could
Hmm.
have just thrown in a line like that. So that way going to Navarro and saving it is not only like a sign of their unity, but it's also like, "Oh, now we have another base." So
Hmm.
and I wonder if that's like sort of a thing in Mandalore because I feel like they don't know what to do with Baby Yoda anymore.
Yeah, he's kind of served his purpose.
Yeah, so now he's just sort of like as an accessory to Din, which I'm fine with, but I'm also like, maybe you could have him start to talk. I don't know, like maybe give him something, like give him something more to do. I'm still kind of sad about the missed opportunity of having them stay apart longer than they did.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if they had done a thing, like they still could have done this people reuniting type, like the Mandalorians reuniting, and if they had Grogu off with Luke, and then this season is like, oh, Din seeing like, oh, these people need to reunite, just like how I need to reunite with my son. And I think it was funny because it's just like, oh, I'm adopting this child. Like he tells the armorer that because she's like, he's too young to
Yeah,
begin the
I thought
training.
it went without saying that he adopted him too. That was something I was gonna say I forgot. I'm
Like
like,
we don't need to hear that. We know. Like he's
yeah,
been your son like the end of season
even
one.
Bo-Katan is like your dad, your son, your
Uh,
kid. I'm like, everyone knows that's his fucking kid. Like
yeah, like
the
we don't need to hear
armor,
you say it.
yeah, that really pissed me off because the armor was like going off technicalities, but I'm like, bitch, did you not just make him like special fucking Din armor?
Yeah, you already made him armor. Like episode 3, you're just like, here's your word, your youngling.
Yeah, and
So
I'm like, oh, now you want to fucking pull out the official guidebook on him? Like, no, fuck out of here.
I feel like the writers was just like, oh yeah, and then we'll finally have Pedro call him my son, and it's gonna be such a moment. Like that's what they thought in the writing room, and we're out here watching this, and we're like, yeah, we know that's been his kid forever. Like that was clearly his kid when he came back, and he was like, hey dad, fuck Uncle Luke, they're all gonna fucking burn anyways. Let's hang out. You know what I mean? I was like a little annoyed, and I'm this writing. I've said this before in many podcasts where we recap the show, but it just felt very comfortable. Like I feel like they didn't take any risks. It felt
Yeah.
like the dialogue felt very comfortable. But I've been talking a lot. What are some of your gripes with this finale and maybe the season overall?
Okay, my biggest one that comes to mind right off the bat is how
Tell
Moff
me.
Gideon died because because he was standing like in a battle pose, and as soon as the
Mhm.
blade comes, he stands still and like spreads his arms out. He's like, ah, and I'm like, you had to have like that doesn't just happen naturally. Like
Mhm.
that was the cheesiest fucking thing in the world, you know?
They're just like, hey, can we get you to pose while you burn?
Yeah, and then
But I never cared for him, so I'm okay with him dying. I'm whatever.
I also felt like too they did a little too many like cameos in this
Mhm.
where it was after seeing Jack Black and Lizzo, I'm just like I could have gone without that. I don't think it was really necessary. Just it just didn't fit. Like if they were like in the Bad Batch or something, I think I've said this before too. It would have made more
Mhm.
sense because the Bad Batch is a little bit more goofy
Mhm.
and Mando's is supposed to be more serious. And it was just all these like other cameos. I'm just like I don't really care. Like I remember I was watching it with a friend. I wasn't watching it with a friend, but a friend was telling me
Mhm.
that he was like, "Oh yeah, there's this guy from like the Rebels, and Steve Bloom voices him, and he pops up in one of the episodes, and it's like
Mhm.
really really cool." I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, why should I care about this dude?
Mhm.
And it was just yeah. There's a lot of it's. I'm starting to see like the formula a little bit of Filoni, where it's like it's very fan servicey, and that's what this season kind of felt like. Like this wasn't a season for me. This was a season for you, for people
You know what?
who go for it.
That's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
Usually it's you interrupting me. I'm interrupting you a lot this episode. I will say that the fan servicey and like cameos, that's something I heard a lot of people talk about with season 2
Really?
because Ahsoka,
Mhm.
Mandalorian, and we have Luke, and then we have this. So there was a lot of cameos in I think season 2, and this one I didn't feel as much.
I'd say the only difference is that those were like legacy characters,
Mhm.
other than Ahsoka.
Mhm.
That like
Oh wow.
she's not a
Okay.
legacy character.
Whatever.
Motherfucker, you're gonna say she's a legacy. When was she introduced?
2007,
Yes. And how long when was Luke introduced?
like yesterday. I don't know.
Shut the fuck up. But that's why I'm like those are legacy characters, so I think that's a bit different, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah,
But yeah, I get what you mean because it's like if you know the characters, it's nice, but if you don't, then it doesn't fucking matter.
mhm. And it was just a lot of
Mhm.
stuff like that where I just didn't care, and it just the show it took way too long for them to get their footing. So where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this is what they're doing. And yes, if you watch the overall show, it's like, oh, okay, I can see in episode 1 this is what they're doing
Yeah,
too.
but week to week.
Yeah, exactly. Now
Mhm.
that I have the full like puzzle in front of me, I'm like, okay, I see where all the pieces line up, but like you said, week to week, there was no plot. It was going nowhere. And so that was a thing too. I was like, man, like there was just no sense of direction. Like I saw that IGN gave the season like a 7, and I'm
Hmm.
like, that's fair. I'd give it like a 6, in my
Hmm.
opinion, just because the only good episodes, I was like, fuck, man, like the last 2 episodes are the best episodes of the season.
Yeah.
That's not, that's saying something right there too.
Mm.
Where I get it, usually you want to end off on a bang, you want to have your big fight in this and that, but there was never a moment in the show where I was like on the edge of my seat or anything
Mhm.
like that. And then the episode before the finale, it was like, "Oh, we're all gonna die. Everyone, no one is safe," and everyone walks out just fine.
Oh yeah, that was funny because you're like, because hold on, I actually have another tweet. I'm gonna push another tweet I
Go for it.
found.
Go for it.
This person I also am gonna disavow in case they're horrible. But hey Lee J says the way I was fully convinced there was gonna be a dramatic torture scene and Din's helmet was gonna be forcibly removed, and it would be this big emotional thing. Dot dot dot. And the homie escaped before the theme song even played. Like what? That was funny. Because like in the second to last episode, it's framed like he's captured and they're gonna have to save him. And then
Mhm.
like before the theme song, he like knocks him out, ka 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 ka. And he's just like, I'm so cool. You can't kidnap me. Which is funny because Din Djarin has two modes: badass motherfucker and dumbass. He has like two modes. That's it. And sometimes his badass is pretty great. Like I love that guy. He's such a himbo. It's
But
just like one day I'll be shooting, other days I'll just fall or like drop a knife or something.
yeah, so those are things I didn't really care for. Like, what would you give the season overall?
Um, I feel like I'm genuinely more positive about the show than you are, but when you said it's something that seems very together overall, but if you watch it week to week, it feels more disjointed. I really get what you mean. So I feel like I would agree with you, maybe like a 6 or 7.
Hmm.
And I remember texting you being like, "Oh, can I tell you like a non-spoiler for the
Oh
show?"
yeah, what was that, by the
The
way?
only thing I was gonna tell you is because I remember you saying on a podcast that you were worried that the season finale was gonna lead into the Ahsoka show,
Uh huh.
and I was just gonna tell you like, "Oh yeah, there's no lead in the Ahsoka shows. There's no even like end credit. Like, you don't have to worry about
Imagine at the end credit, like Ahsoka picks up her lightsaber and she's like, "Now my work begins."
it." She picks up the dark saber and she's like, "You will come back. You'll rise again," or something like that. But I okay, I have to stop myself because I was about to talk about Ahsoka. Um, you know what? One time you told me I laugh like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and every time I laugh now,
You
I think
hear it?
about I hear it. But yeah, I think I enjoyed season 2 more than this one,
Yeah.
but I think it's fine. I don't know how rewatchable it is, but I'll probably rewatch the last couple episodes. And I want to say, while you're talking, I looked up the scene where Moff Gideon dies on YouTube, and I will tell everyone to do this because it's actually very funny. You are 100% right that there's an explosion, and for a second, he's just standing there. For like a solid 2 seconds, he stands there, and then it's like the director said, "Can you put your arms out?" And then he puts his arms out as the fire hits him. Like, it's so funny. Like there's a fire behind him standing, and then he T-poses, "Ah!" And it's so funny
Yeah.
because
Well.
there's like a solid 3 seconds where you see Din, Bo, and Grogu, like, shield themselves,
Uh huh.
and then he's just standing there, like, arms to his side. And it's just so funny because you see them blasting him, like, "Pew, pew, 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 pew," and he's like, "I'm trying to block it." And then they transition to a wide shot where there's a fire behind them, and he's just standing there. It's so funny. It's so funny, I
Yeah.
swear.
When I saw that, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Come on."
Oh my gosh, this show. You know what? Even if I feel like this show, I care enough about it that even if it gets really bad, I'd still watch it.
Hmm.
Just because I do like the characters. I
I
do like Din. I
I
do like Grogu. I hope nothing but the best for them.
I will say that I am getting Star Wars fatigue, but one thing I am really excited for is
Ahsoka.
Jedi Survivor
Woo!
that comes out next week.
Woo! Ahsoka. Yeah.
I could care less about Ahsoka.
Oh,
Give me
what if I come over and bring beer or something and we watch Ahsoka?
I'll go to your house and we could do that. That sounds like it'd
Yeah,
be
you're
fun.
here. All right, all right.
I just be like, all right. But I will
You're just
say
like, you have to pick me up. No, I'm not driving to
I,
this
I
shit.
will say I am really excited for Jedi Survivor.
Mhm,
My little gay Jedi Ian from
mhm.
Shameless. It's funny because in Shameless he's gay, and I see him now. I'm like, you're just my little gay Jedi. I also met him. I yeah, he's a cool guy. Anyways, but what I was gonna say is I'm excited because I've been seeing like gameplay footage of him, and like
Mhm,
the captions like on TikTok is like, man, Darth Vader really fucked up this kid because he's doing some like crazy like attacks and stuff. And I'm
mhm,
thinking to myself too, I'm like, man, this guy ain't he's not even a fucking Jedi anymore. Like
mhm.
Jedis do not fight like this.
Is he getting a little like Star Killer-ish?
Yeah, because there was a scene I saw and I'm like, it looked really cool where it was two different scenes where he's
Mhm,
fighting kind of like a Rancor-esque monster, and like
mhm,
I could be mixing this up a little bit, but like he uses the force to like do like a backflip, and then he gets his lightsaber and like cuts off the
mhm.
arm like really brutally. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like that's not the Jedi way. And then there was another scene where I saw where I'm like, damn, I'm like, this is my boy. This is why I be fucking with him. Um, he's on a speeder, and he has his lightsaber out, and then the speeder trooper, the scout trooper, there we go. The scout trooper is like they're having like a sword fight while they're riding their speeders, and then he turns off his lightsaber, grabs the scout trooper, throws him up in the air, and as soon as he throws him up in the air, a TIE fighter just runs his ass over.
Mhm.
And I'm like, damn. I'm like
He's
you
getting real savage.
yeah, I'm like, you're not a Jedi anymore, but I fuck with it. Like I like seeing this unhinged like version of yourself now.
You know what? I would like to see him in live action.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Not only because he's hot, but I like the character.
You know, okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
I need you I need you to watch Shameless, okay?
I'll watch Shameless just for him.
Because like yeah, no, here's the thing though, because they really try to like emphasize in the show, look how hot he is, look how
Mhm.
this. And I'm just like, yeah, he's fit, but I wouldn't say he's like 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 ooh, you know?
Like dreamy, like
Yeah, yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say he's like that, you
Mm,
know. So I need you to watch because they do that more or less like because when the show starts off, him and like majority of the cast in the show in the world of the show, they're like teenagers. So like once you get to like season like 2 or like 3 or 4, that's when
mhm,
like they're like adults. You see him become like a stripper. You see him like more like do more like provocative stuff.
mhm.
So yeah, I need you to go do that because I don't see him like as like uh, McDreamy, I guess, or sexy. You know, I'm like, yeah, he's fit, but I don't know how to end that, but yeah, I'm excited for that. What about you? Any other things you're excited for other than Ahsoka? It doesn't have to be Star Wars related, you know.
Oh my gosh. Teen Titans. Please, everyone, go pick up Titans. I need this book to succeed. You don't understand. I used to pray for times like these.
What
But
if it's
what else
like
am I excited?
something you've been like really excited for, but it just flops? It's not good.
I might cry. You're gonna want to put me on like a list of people to watch.
Fuck.
I'm gonna be that sad. I'm gonna be that fucking sad. But no, you know what? I trust. You know what? I'll trust Tom Taylor. Fuck it.
Oh, Tom Taylor's working on it. Nah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's it. It's his book.
Okay, 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 okay. I thought he was just
So
doing Titans. Titans
yeah,
Nightwing.
no, that's the current run of Nightwing is sort of coming across as like a test run for how they operate as a team with his writing.
Uh huh.
Because like the current issues coming out, it's like them all working with him.
Okay, so it's basically a Titans.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
showing you what the Titans book is gonna look like.
Gotcha, 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 gotcha. You know when the Nightwing POV comic comes out, where it's like all
Oh,
through?
you know what? I'll Google it right now.
Because I want to buy
Uh,
that one.
it looks fun.
Yeah, I just want to buy it
They've
for
had a lot of
that.
gimmicks like that I've enjoyed. Hold on one second. I gotta pull up the article from Screen Rant.
Ooh.
In June. It's coming up in June.
Okay, so we still got. All
Very
right,
exciting, but
but Noah, I think we've hit our time limit.
oh my
We've
gosh.
talked about gay Jedi's. We talked about buff guys. We've talked about Kevin. We've
We
talked
talked about me crying in the
talked
theater.
about you crying in the theater. We've talked about demons. We've it sounds like a typical podcast. Oh, and we've fuck Republicans. Yeah, we've talked about politics now.
Uh,
There we go. We hit all the check
Any more
marks.
bases? Any more bases? We got everything.
Yeah, we got everything. So what's the homework? What's the homework for this week, Noah?
Okay, I'm gonna reiterate. I don't. You know what? I'll give different homework. You go first. I gotta think of homework.
Okay, my other homework assignment is for you guys to go watch Ted Lasso season 3. It's like they're like at the midway point right now. There was an episode the most recent episode they did was the team goes to New Amsterdam, and I think
Mhm.
that was the best episode of the season so far. Like it was so like heartfelt because Ted Lasso is more or less like a really heartfelt show, so it's a good palate cleanser for Barry.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the last episode they did where they were in New Amsterdam with the team was probably my favorite episode so far this season.
All
But
right.
what about you?
My homework is if you like Jedi Star Wars Fallen Order and those characters, I will say my homework for you is to go pick up Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars, which is a book that takes place in between the two games.
Oh, that's right, huh? I forgot about that.
Yeah, you can get it on audiobook with a free Audible trial, which you can get using the Geek Press 69.
I
There's
will
my
say
fake
this: my girlfriend just started using Audible, and she like really likes it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She's been like listening to the Hunger Game books.
You know, it's really great because reading, you know what? Reading takes effort. Reading takes time.
Me
And if you
no
don't
like
have
to
that time
read.
yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna blame anyone if they're just not into reading because it takes time to like sit down and fucking read a book. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if you want to get into books but you're not that big of a reader, I would say audiobooks are a really good way to go.
And with that note, we're gonna end the podcast. We'll see you guys next Monday, and take care.
Goodbye.